Hey everyone, welcome to Alice and Anna. My name is Anna, and today is part 3 of my must-watch film series. So today I'm gonna do my list of my must-watch series from the 90s. I did 2 videos. I'm gonna leave them in the cards here. One is films before the 80s and must-watch films of the 80s. I mean, out of the film series, the must-watch film series, I feel like the 90s is probably gonna be the one that people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I've seen that. Because you don't really realize it, but they're so iconic to pop culture. So without further ado, here's my list. The first film came out at the beginning of the decade, 1990. It's written by Chris Columbus, because I talked a lot about Chris Columbus in the previous video, films from the 80s, because he writes a lot of family adventure kind of situations, and he also directs. This movie is called Home Alone, and he directed this. I feel like everybody has seen this movie. It's a Christmas movie. It's really funny. It's very comical. And it's very much for kids, but I find it enjoyable no matter what age I am, and my parents also like it as well, and we watch it every single Christmas, and I don't know, I really like it. Also, Home Alone 2 was it wasn't as good as Home Alone 1, but it was good. The other ones, just don't watch them at all. The next film came out in 1990 as well. It's called Goodfellas. This is a Martin Scorsese film. Goodfellas is an amazing film. It stars Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, and the acting is really good. It basically just follows the story of two, I would say, criminals, and how they become two gangsters, and from small to big, and it just follows that whole story, and it's really, really good. And I feel like that is such a Martin Scorsese trademark. Okay, next film is called Pretty Woman. It's also from 1990, and it stars Julia Roberts. It's a plural. This film is basically a rich guy who hires a prostitute to accompany him to certain social events, and they fall in love. It's a rom-com, surprise. If you haven't seen any rom-com ever, I guess. The next film is also from the same year. It's called Edward Scissorhands, and it's directed by Tim Burton. It also stars Johnny Depp. Almost every single film that Tim Burton does, even with the animated ones, have Johnny Depp in it, which is really funny, and they work so well together, so I love it. This one in particular is basically this fantasy neighborhood, which is super perfect and pastel pink and pretty and nice and happy, and then there's this mansion in the middle of nowhere where there's where this man was brought to life, kind of like Frankenstein, but instead of hands he has scissors, and one of the women in the village kind of adopts him. It's basically the way that he adapts into that little village, and of course at the beginning everybody loves him, but then there's also problems that come with having hands as scissors. So yeah, it's a really interesting, very interesting idea, and it's really well done as well. The next film is called My Girl. It came out in 1991, and this one is interestingly enough, in this decade I have 2 movies that are romances but of kids, but this one is the gut-wrenching one. This one is, whew, the actors are really good. It's Macaulay Culkin, the guy from Home Alone, and this other girl that I don't know her name. It's basically a young coming of age and falling in love for the first time movie, and it is really very, very sweet and nice. I like it a lot. The next film is from the same year. It's from 1991, and it's called The Silence of the Lamb. This film is considered a thriller horror. I wouldn't say it's a horror, I would say it's a thriller, but it's basically an FBI agent that gets Hannibal, the famous cannibal eater, who's a serial killer, to help her find another serial killer. It gets really twisted and stuff, and it's really, really good. And it stars Anthony Hopkins, who is an amazing actor, and I think this is one of my favorite films from him, if not the favorite one. The next film was called Jurassic Park. This one came out in 1993. This is directed by Steven Spielberg. I feel like all these videos are kind of a shrine to Steven Spielberg, and I don't mean it that way. I don't think he's the best director ever to live, but I feel like he knows how to pick stories and make them very, very interesting. Jurassic Park is basically someone synthetically created dinosaurs, and they put them in a park, and they're trying to find, I think, investors, I'm not sure how it all starts, but they go onto this park and it has dinosaurs or whatever, and there's a huge outbreak, and it's all an action adventure thing. But what is so good about this film is that they used animatronics and the skin looks so real and they move so well and it's just beautiful. And it also has an amazing score and it has like a very iconic score. That one, and I think everybody knows it. It's an amazing film. The next film is also a Steven Spielberg film, and it also came out in the same year, and it's called Schindler's List. Now this is like the total opposite. This is a little bit more artistic. It's actually in black and white, and it stars Liam Neeson, the Taken dude. It's set in the Second World War, and it's basically a guy who employs Jews to save their lives from concentration camps, and it is very sad. It's not very Steven Spielberg-ish, like it's not super fast-paced or action-packed or whatever. It's not slow per se, but it's not a very commercial thing like Jurassic Park was. And I think it's a really good, really good film. The next film is called Groundhog Day. This one also came out in 1993, and it's basically Bill Murray just reliving the same day over and over again, and it's a rom-com. I feel like this is like the original reliving the same day over and over again, and it is really well done, so that was a good one. And Bill Murray has to have like a mention in the list, because come on, he is amazing. I love Bill Murray. He has really good like family-friendly films, and he's actually a really good actor, and I don't think people notice that. Hi! The next one was called Shawshank Redemption. This one came out in 1994. That's actually the year that my brother was born. I personally love films that are all about like the justice system and like prisons and escapes and all of that. And this one is basically a guy who gets sentenced to prison because of killing his wife and his lover, I believe. The whole movie is about how he is a very weird inmate. Bye. And what leads to him escaping. And it's really good. Shawshank Redemption was written by Stephen King. It's not a horror film, but it's written by him, which is very different from his like most known works. And it also stars Morgan Freeman. Like, I love him so much. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The next film, it's in every single list ever, and it's probably like also very artsy and film schooly of me to say, but it's Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction came out in 1994 as well. It's like Quentin Tarantino's like masterpiece. But what I like about this one is that it's actually very funny. It's carried a lot by the dialogue, and I think that gives a lot to the movie. It's great, and it's basically just a bunch of random people just meeting up together and all those shenanigans, and it's really good. The next film, also 1994, Forrest Gump. It stars Tom Hanks, and it's basically a guy with a very low IQ who joins the army, but he just like keeps thinking back to his like childhood sweetheart. But it has really iconic lines like,
"My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Run, Forrest, run," and all of that. So it's really good. The next film, also a 1994 movie, it's called Little Rascals. This is the second film that I was talking about, which is like a children's romance movie kind of thing, but this one's more focused on like the comedy side of it. So it's basically like a little club of boys who, like the bad boy of the club is like trying to woo the girl of like the pretty girl of the town, and they're all like, no girls, because I mean they're children. But it's really funny, and they have a dog in it, and I love dogs, and I feel like it's a great family film to watch. The next film is called Seven, and it's from 1995, and it's basically a serial killer that is recreating the 7 deadly sins with each kill, but the story is told through 2 detectives. And it's directed by David Fincher, and I love David Fincher. He has an amazing style. I feel like the cinematography, not only in this one, but also another film that I'm gonna mention later on, he has this way of like moving the camera with every single action. It really puts you in the story. The next film it's a little bit more lighthearted. It's called Clueless. It's basically like a rom-com teenager kind of film, but it also has like a coming of age kind of thing, and it's basically a rich girl who is like all popular and everything, and she's falling in love with her stepbrother, and it's like a whole dynamic also at school, so she has to like face all these things, and it's really funny, and it has an amazing line. This film was also written and directed by a woman, and that makes me really happy because it's 1995 and it wasn't that very like well I don't know, it wasn't normal, like that normal for women to like write and direct, so it's great. The next film is a Robin Williams film. This one is called Jumanji. For any of those of you who think that Jumanji is like The Rock and like Kevin Hart's movie, no. Jumanji originally was a board game. A woman, her romantic interest, and her younger brother, I believe, the game is brought to life, and with that comes out a random dude who is Robin Williams, and they have to finish the game in order for all the things to stop, and it's really, really good. Next film is called Fargo. It's from 1996. It stars Frances McDormand, and the story is a guy that hires another guy to kidnap his wife in order to get money from his father-in-law, and it all goes horribly wrong, but it's that like dynamic, and it's really, really good. The next film is a very sweet but gut-wrenching film. It's called Life is Beautiful, and it came out in 1997, and it's basically a dad whose family, and himself of course, are stuck in the concentration camps in World War II. They're all Jewish, and he has a very, very young son, and in order to like shield him from whatever is going on, and he uses humor. So it's a war drama, but it also has comedy in it, and you know, when you understand the whole like context of the World War, then you're like, ugh, because it's so sad what's actually going on. But it is an amazing film, and the cinematography in it is also amazing, so well worth watching. The next film is also from the same year, 1997, and it's called Goodwill Hunting. This was actually written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. They won an Oscar for this screenplay, and then Ben Affleck and Matt Damon also star in it with Robin Williams. It is really, really, really good, and it's more of an indie film. Also, the writing really surprises you. Like, the writing is very mature because they were like teenagers. They were, I don't know how old they were, but like they were really, really young. The next film is Titanic, 1997, and name a more iconic and controversial debate than the one that Jack could fit in the damn door. As everybody knows, it's a romance. It's Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. It's very tragic, but it's basically like two people from different social classes falling in love on board the Titanic. Iconic. You have to watch it. You must. The next film is a little bit more indie. It's like a funny indie movie that also has a little crime sprinkle on top of it, because why not? And it's very, very random. It's called The Big Lebowski. It stars Jeff Bridges, and honestly, half of the movie I couldn't tell you what was going on until the very end. It is funny, but very, very random, and I love it. I really like the cinematography in it as well. The next film is called The Truman Show. It's 1998, so the year I was born. Not that it matters. Basically, this is a drama sci-fi. It stars Jim Carrey, and it's all about a guy who is living his life. He doesn't realize it, but his life is a TV show. Family, his friends, everyone is an actor, and he suddenly like starts realizing stuff. And then he suddenly decides like, I have to escape. It is very good. The next film, also from the same year, is called Saving Private Ryan. This film was also directed by Steven Spielberg, and again, not very Steven Spielberg-ish. It's a war film with drama. This one stars Tom Hanks and Matt Damon. Really well done. I really like the camera work in this film. The rest of these films are from 1999, and the first one is The Matrix. And it's basically a computer programmer who's really good, goes into the Matrix, which is like a simulation, and he's fighting an underground war against computers. Very confusing, but action-packed. Really good, surprisingly so. And it stars Keanu Reeves, and this is where he became like hella famous. Next film is a little bit more sweeter. It's called Notting Hill, and it's a rom-com, so of course there's ups and downs. It has really nice transitions and a really good, like, someone chose the music really well in that film. Next film, my favorite director, David Fincher. He has a very interesting way of filmmaking that I absolutely adore. First rule about Fight Club, you don't talk about Fight Club. I'm just kidding. This film in particular also stars Brad Pitt and Ed Norton. Ed Norton is an amazing actor as well. It's like a psychological thriller, and it is really, really good. It's very interesting, keeps you on edge all the time, and then it has like a massive plot twist at the end. So, amazing, must watch. And just to end on a very happy note, the film is called The 10 Things That I Hate About You. This film is a rom-com and it's great. I feel like it's really well known. If it isn't, I'd be very surprised. And it stars Heath Ledger. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is also in it. And that's it. That's the whole list from the 90s. And I I think my favorite decade is probably the 80s, but then it's the 90s. Even though I was born in the 98 and I was really late to the decade, I did have two older siblings, so it was really nice to get like a little bit of it into my life. But we're going on to the next decade, which is the 2000s, next Monday. And it's gonna be really exciting because this is like actually something that I grew up watching. Like all of these films I've seen and I adore, but these ones I actually saw in the movie theaters and like renting them in Blockbuster and stuff, so this is gonna be fun. Check out Thursday for a video that Alice is gonna upload, and check out next Monday for the next video of the series, the must-watch films of the 2000s. Bye!